The Bible outlines what is permissible to eat and what is forbidden. It provides clear descriptions, allowing the people of Israel to know what they could consume. Today, only Judaism continues to follow these dietary laws, which are referred to as kosher. Similarly, in Islam, there are comparable dietary rules known as halal. This time, I would like to explore what kosher is and examine the differences between kosher and halal.
In the Bible, the foods that must not be eaten are primarily listed in Leviticus chapter 11.
Animals with split hooves that chew the cud, such as cattle, sheep, goats, deer, gazelles, roe deer, wild goats, ibex, antelopes, and mountain sheep, may be eaten. However, pigs, camels, hares, and rock badgers must not be eaten. Among creatures living in the water, those with fins and scales may be eaten. Therefore, shrimp, crabs, catfish, eels, and similar creatures cannot be eaten. Birds may be eaten, but the following are forbidden: the eagle, bearded vulture, osprey, black kite, falcons of any kind, ostrich, nighthawk, seagull, hawks of any kind, owl, screech owl, purple gallinule, pelican, vulture, cormorant, stork, herons of any kind, hoopoo, and bat. Winged insects that walk on all fours may not be eaten, but those that have jointed legs for hopping, such as various kinds of migratory locusts, crickets, and grasshoppers, may be eaten. Animals that walk on their paws are considered unclean. This includes animals like dogs and cats. Among creatures that crawl on the ground, four-footed creatures: the mole, rat, jerboa, spiny-tailed lizard, gecko, monitor lizard, sand lizard, and chameleon are forbidden and may not be eaten. Creatures that slither like snakes, four-footed creatures such as carnivores, and those with many legs such as centipedes are forbidden unless specifically mentioned otherwise. You must not cook a young goat in its mother's milk.
In accordance with the law that prohibits cooking a young goat in its mother's milk, Jews refrain from eating cheeseburgers. Seafood is also restricted, and high-end ingredients like lobster and crab are forbidden. While beef, lamb, and similar meats are consumed, the law states that the fat belongs to the Lord, so the tastiest fatty parts are offered to him.
The Bible contains strong warnings about blood, as blood is considered to carry life. Drinking blood is strictly forbidden, and even touching blood is considered something detestable to God. It is written that if any among the people of Israel drinks blood, they will be cut off from the community. Additionally, if a woman experiences bleeding due to menstruation, she must live apart from her family.
Nowadays, it is said that Jewish people do not isolate menstruating women. However, among the Orthodox, a group within the conservative movement, this practice still exists. Women must spend a week in a separate room, during which time they are allowed to have conversations, but physical contact is prohibited.
In the Bible, the foods that must not be eaten are primarily listed in Leviticus chapter 11. Islam also has prohibited foods, and in general, it is similar to kosher. This is because Islam also believes in the Old Testament and is well aware of the contents of Leviticus and Deuteronomy. The biggest difference between them and Jewish kosher is that Muslims do not consume alcohol. Jews, on the other hand, do not have particularly strict regulations regarding alcohol, including wine. In Islam, it is common not to drink alcohol. Nowadays, in some countries, alcohol is not sold at all. But in businesses catering to tourists, selling alcohol is permitted.
The Acts of the Apostles describes a vision that Peter had. One day, Peter went up to the rooftop to pray. It was around noon, just as preparations for a meal were being made. Peter fell into a trance during this time. In the vision, the heavens opened, and a large sheet-like container was lowered by its four corners. Inside it were all kinds of four-footed animals, reptiles, and birds of the air. Then a voice from heaven said, "Peter, rise, kill and eat." But Peter replied, "Lord, I cannot do that. I have never eaten anything impure or unclean." Then the voice spoke from heaven again, saying, "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." This vision occurred 3 times, and the sheet was taken back up to heaven.
In the Christian world, this event is often interpreted as the lifting of the Old Testament dietary restrictions. While there are some differing opinions, many churches believe that there are no longer any restrictions on what may be eaten.
In kosher, only certain animals may be eaten. For example, ruminant animals with split hooves, such as cattle, sheep, and goats, are permitted. But pigs and rabbits are forbidden. Among birds, only certain ones such as chickens and turkeys are allowed, while crows and birds of prey are prohibited. Only fish with both fins and scales are considered kosher. So shellfish such as shrimp, crabs, and mollusks, as well as eels, are prohibited. One of the key kosher rules is that meat and dairy products must not be eaten or cooked together. This requires separate preparation of meat and dairy dishes, using different utensils and cooking equipment. Animals must be slaughtered in a specific manner, known as shechita. This is carried out by a trained Jewish slaughterer shochet, using a method that is swift and minimizes suffering.
In modern times, there is kosher certification to confirm that foods are kosher. Many food products are supervised by rabbis, and their production processes and ingredients are closely monitored. Packages usually display kosher certification marks such as K or U, which consumers use as a guide.
Among modern Jews, there are various levels of adherence to kosher practices, ranging from Orthodox Jews, who strictly follow kosher laws, to conservative Jews, who respect tradition but with some flexibility. Observing kosher is not only a matter of religious adherence, but also a means of maintaining Jewish identity and tradition. This concludes the discussion on kosher. Thank you for watching until the end. If you liked it, please consider subscribing to the channel.